to get that out in front of you. Take it out, put it in front of you, whatever. This one right there. One with the dots on it in which the rivers are labeled. Because what do you think those dots are? That's their route. That's their route. Okay? And you're going to want to kind of see what we're talking about. So we're talking about the Corps of Discovery through Montana to the Pacific. And as we lecture this, please, pay attention to the map here so you know what's going on. Okay? So everybody got the Corps of Discovery through Montana to the Pacific? Okay, so now we're going to tell you what happens from the time they leave the Mandan villages till they get through what we now know as the state of Montana. So they leave the Mandan villages on April 7th of 1805. They leave the Mandan villages on April 7th of 1805. And they're heading for the mouth of the Yellowstone River. It's not on your map, because where is the mouth of the Yellowstone? In North Dakota, right? And the mouth of the Yellowstone is where the Yellowstone River runs into the Missouri River, because it's a smaller waterway. So, the Corps of Discovery leaves the Mandan villages on on April 7th of 1805, and they are heading from the Mandan villages to the mouth of the Yellowstone River. Now, as they travel for the mouth of the Yellowstone River, what is the biggest concern that Lewis and Clark have on their minds? Anybody want to guess? What are they concerned about as far as getting from where they are to the Pacific? What bothers them? What makes them go, oh my God, can we do it? The Rocky Mountains, that's exactly right. So as the Corps of Discovery continues their journey toward the Pacific Ocean, they have a major concern in their minds. They want to know, where are these rugged Rocky Mountains that everyone's talked about? Because they had information from fur trappers that had been in that area that there were these tremendous Rocky Mountains in that area. Now, if you know anything about Montana, they're going to be in Montana a while, aren't they? Before they get to these rugged Rocky Mountains. Matter of fact, I'll give you a little known fact. Don't you think it's kind of weird how Idaho is shaped? Did you know that they screwed up the boundary? That when they were first going to make that state, it was supposed to be square, and this was going to be Idaho, and this is going to be Montana. My God, what would Montana have amounted to? Not much. The Great Plains. Where's everybody like to live in Montana? Bozeman, Missoula, Kalispell, all these really pretty areas in the mountains. If the boundary would have been correct, this would have been Montana. And Idaho would have been the most famous resort state in the history of the world. Does that make sense? So they're going to travel quite a ways, and as they travel, they keep going, where are these Rocky Mountains we're hearing about? But that was their biggest concern, okay? Now, once they find the Rocky Mountains, their next concern is, how are we going to get across them, correct? Okay, well, they left on April 7th of 1805, and by the end of April, they reached the mouth of the Yellowstone River. And according to the Mandan Indians, they knew they were close to present-day Montana. And they knew that they needed to travel north on the Missouri, not south on the Yellowstone, because who gave them that information? The Mandan Indians. So they're going to come to this mouth of the Yellowstone, and they're not going to panic and go, oh my God, which way do we go? Because they've been given that direction. Okay? So, by the end of April of 1805, the Corps of Discovery reaches the mouth of the Yellowstone River, and they're very close to present-day eastern Montana, but they are still in North Dakota, western North Dakota. So they know they're going to travel the northern route, the Missouri, because that's what they were directed by the Mandan Indians. So as you look at your map and write down these notes, it's mid-May of 1805, mid-May, and they continue up the Missouri River, and they pass the mouth of the Milk River, which you can see on your map right here. So where are they at? They're right here at the mouth of the Milk River. Why is it called the mouth of the Milk River? Because the Milk River runs into the Missouri. So they're right there in mid-May of 1805. Now, was it called the Milk River when they got there? No, they name a lot of these rivers on our travels here. The river was actually named when they got there by the Indians. It was called the river that scolds all others. That was the Indian name. It's on your ID sheet, I believe, is it not? The river that scolds all others. That was the name of the Milk River prior to Lewis and Clark naming it, the Milk River. It was called the river that scolds all others, and it was named by Indian tribes in that area. The river that scolds all others. Lewis and Clark named it the Milk River. Anybody want to know why? Anybody know why? Because it was, what time of the year was it? Mid-May. What do our rivers and creeks look like in mid-May after runoff?
Oh, they're dirty.
They're dirty, they're milky looking, muddy looking, and that's because of its appearance, which looked milky or muddy to Lewis and Clark. They named it the Milk River, which it is still today. Okay? So, the river which was originally called the river that scolds all others was later changed by Lewis and Clark to the Milk River because of its muddy or milky appearance. Well, they continue on, and on June 2nd of 1805, they reached the mouth of the Marias River. And you can see that on your map also, right? Yep. Not yet. But you're going to, yeah, it's a great story. So what other rivers do they cross? They cross the mouth of the Musselshell River. They named it because of the enormous amounts of mussel shells. They also named the Judith River after Clark's relative, whose first name was Judith. And they named the Marias River after Lewis's cousin, Mariah Wood, which is on your ID sheet. So they name all these rivers: the Milk River, the Musselshell River, the Judith River, and now they name the Marias River after Lewis's cousin, Mariah Wood. And they're going to stay at the mouth of the Marias River for 10 days, from June 2nd, 1805 through June 12th of 1805. They're going to stay there 10 days, and there's going to be a reason why they stay there. Okay? So, on June 2nd, 1805, Lewis and Clark passed the Musselshell River, they passed the Judith River, and they reached the mouth of the Marias River, which Lewis names for his cousin, Mariah Wood. And they're going to camp in that vicinity for 10 days, from June 2nd, 1805 through June 12th, 1805. Why? And you almost hit it, Brent. Why, Branson? Why are they there so long? What are they trying to do? They don't know which way to go. Nobody's told them. Do you take the North Fork up the Marias River to get to the Pacific, or do you stay on the Missouri River to get to the Pacific? So they're staying at this place, and this place is later going to be called, on your ID sheet, Decision Point, because it'll be at this point, at the mouth of the Marias, that they make the decision on whether they're going to go north or south. How are they going to determine that? They're going to split up and search separately. So Lewis will follow the Marias River to the north, and Clark will follow the Missouri River to the south, and they're looking for one specific thing that they know is on the correct route, because the Mandan Indians told them. What are they looking for?
It's a mountain, okay?
No, no, good guess. They're looking for a specific landmark that will tell them we're going the right way. And there's a city named after it in Montana. Big city. What? Somebody say it? Great Falls, Montana. They're looking for these Great Falls of the Missouri because they know if they find the Great Falls of the Missouri, they're going the right way. So, they split up at Decision Point at the mouth of the Marias River. And Lewis follows the Marias to the north, that's why you see dots on your map, while Clark follows the Missouri River to the south. Both looking for what?
Great Falls.
These great falls of the Missouri River, because they know that's the water route to the Pacific. Well, finally, Clark finds the Great Falls. He returns back to Decision Point, where he meets up with Lewis, and the decision is made. They will head south. That decision point is in Loma, Montana, right out of Fort Benton, Montana, where I spent time teaching. Now, I'm going to give you two reasons why, well, three reasons why that decision was very crucial, that they didn't screw up that decision. What might be a reason that you're glad you didn't pick the Marias route? What time of the year is it? June-ish. By the time they get up to the Marias River to finally figure out, uh-oh, we're going the wrong way, where would they have been close to? Canada. What happens in Canada when you are in the winter? Cold. So choosing the incorrect route would have forced the expedition north towards Canada, and they would have been forced to winter in the high mountains, which would not have been good. Another reason why picking the incorrect route, if they go the wrong way and they're not having any luck finding their way, what are their men going to start losing? Interest. And they're going to get tired of it. Now, the reason they needed to go the right way is because they had to locate what they don't know this at the time, but they're finally going to locate something called the Columbia River, which is going to be a big river that flows directly to the Pacific Ocean. So the three reasons why it was so crucial that they picked the right water route is if they picked the wrong one, they're wintering in the mountains near Canada, which would have been disastrous. They would have lost interest by their men, who are wondering what in the world we're doing and where are we going here. And they would have never found the Columbia River, which is going to be the final stretch, easy waterway to the Pacific once they get there. So, they reunite on June 12th. They take off from Decision Point. They head south on the Missouri River, and they finally approach on June 13th, 1805, the Great Falls of the Missouri River. So on June 13th, 1805, they reached the Great Falls. How do we know they reached the Great Falls of the Missouri on June 13th, 1805? How do we know that? Anybody know how we know that? What does this say? Journals of the expedition. They wrote everything down and brought it back. This is a 2-volume text of the journals of Lewis and Clark, what they did and what they brought back. So how do we know these dates? How do we know they were at the Great Falls of the Missouri on June 13th, 1805? Because Lewis recorded it in the journals. Now, tomorrow we'll tell you about how difficult it was to get around the Great Falls of the Missouri River. Because are they still going upstream? Yes. Okay, so they got to get up the Great Falls. Nice job today, kids.